My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Yeah, okay, I'm not on mute anymore. Yeah, so actually, Nurlan, I suppose, isn't in the chat because he would already be telling us you're late. And actually, this time it's a bit, it's mostly my fault, let's say. But regardless of that, let's leave that behind us. Hello, Mario, and this is probably the first time since we're doing these shows that we actually get 4 events to talk about.
Yeah, indeed. Justice for Newport, which was not in the clip. Kidding, but yeah, actually, it's been a very, very busy week. Also because the Olympics, of course, have changed a little bit. Also, the schedule usually Hamburg, used to be not the week right after Wimbledon, but the week after. So yeah, it's been a very, very busy week. The draws have been also probably a bit different than usual. The top players who have decided to play, for example, this week, they have divided themselves, especially between the events in Europe, especially those who were preparing the Olympic Games. So yeah, it's been very interesting week for a lot of, I think, people with different tastes. So many players to watch, different surfaces, still some grass for in the American time zone, and then playing Europe, three very different tournaments with different conditions, and all of them with stories to follow. So it's been a funny. I always like when we have a lot of events.
Yeah, and you should know by now, Mario, that there's no justice for Newport because Newport is going to
Yeah,
be
right.
but we'll get to that, and let's just kick off with the Hamburg one, of course, the ATP 500. As you said, it's usually at a different date. It's going to be at a very different date next year, just before Roland Garros. Pretty much the first time we see something like this on the ATP. But for now, yeah, I mean, Arthur Fils getting into the top 20. It's actually pretty funny because the biggest 2 wins of his career, they have both come at this venue. Casper Ruud last year in the quarterfinals, and now Alexander Zverev in the finals. Someone who defeated him in the final four as well in 2023. So, I mean, there's no real discussion about it. This was the biggest win of Fils' career. I mean, I'm talking about the final specifically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a top 20 debut just for a moment so far, because he's going to drop out next week, because this week we have a weird situation that Hamburg points count twice, let's say, because of course it's been brought a week earlier this week. But yeah, I mean, last week he showed that even if he's going to drop out next week from the top 10, he can well be back into it. Played very, very well. I'm still expecting him in the upcoming weeks to still maybe have some ups and downs, as it is all part of his growth. But this week has been unbelievably good. Has played fantastic, and in the final, for me, yeah, especially because regardless of the quality has been very good at times, not so good in other parts of the matches. But Fils has played amazing display also, always trying to do his game, trying to attack, and even if he had to lose, to lose on his terms, and then to fight physically against Zverev on the clay, it's really one of the most difficult tasks you can have right now in tennis, because Zverev is not easy to especially for a 20-year-old player like Arthur to go to toe against him on the clay, and also manage to, I don't want to say outlast him physically, but more or less. And in the end, how brave Fils' bravery has prevailed, and he's played an amazing match. And so many times I was like also talking, with some other people and say like, I don't know, maybe next time he won't survive this game, and maybe next time there's going to be the break for Zverev, 21 defended out of 22 that Zverev had in his favor throughout the whole match. And just the way Fils has hung out there and stayed in the match and fought as hard as he could, and also fantastic display from all the points of view. Then I think this win is also going to be very, very important for himself, for his confidence, for going forward. An amazing also experience to do, playing in front of this crowd that of course it was mostly, if not all of them, cheering for Zverev, and it was not an easy environment also to play and to fight, and he stayed there and did it amazingly. So
I think after Wimbledon it was like still unclear whether he was gonna take it forwards. Of course, he was pretty disappointed with his first half of the year. He let go Sergi Bruhera. So it was not really like obvious what was going to happen to Artur Fils, whether he's actually making any progress or not compared to 2023. Before Wimbledon, that answer probably would have been no. After Wimbledon, there were still some doubts. He played 2 incredible sets against Hubert Hurkacz, but then the way that match ended, of course, it kind of brings up some questions whether he actually would have won that. Against De Minaur, he pretty much had 4 great games, and that's it. Like literally the entire match, he was outplayed outside of one 15-minute patch. So that was something that I was definitely unsure of, like whether he was going to take that forward or not. And just keep going with that momentum. And obviously he did. He dropped the first set to Jaume Munar in Hamburg as well, but after that was pretty much perfect. 3 top 20 wins in a row to end it. Of course, the retirement against Rune, not quite, we can't quite say it was like a proper top 20 win, but then just crushing Baez. And especially the final, I think it's way more impressive than the Ruud one from last year, because against Ruud, it was just like everything was going according to plan from start to finish. He was just blasting his forehand. I think 20 forehand winners, 20 forehand ground stroke winners out of 35 overall. And he just smashed him off the court. Of course, that can happen if you're as talented as he is. But then against Zverev, sure, he plays with a lot more regulation. He, as you said, is just insanely clutch as well under pressure. He plays a great tiebreak to win it as well. So I hope that it's not something, about this Hamburg venue that brings it out of him, and that we're actually going to see it on tour very regularly from now on. Does Fils have a scary weapon or a world-class forehand or backhand? Still feel uncertain about that? I mean, well, his forehand is definitely scary. That's one thing. And it's a combination of pace and power that is not doesn't exist on the tour, literally. If you have these graphs where you have the 2 axes, and one of them you put just literally speed of the forehand, average speed of the forehand, and the other is the spin rate, then Fils is the dots like in the extreme right. I can't quite say that it's the best forehand on tour because, well, it can be rushed. Like, the grip is pretty extreme. You need a bit of time. It's tough to be consistent with it, maybe even sometimes. But I mean, no, he definitely does have a scary weapon. That's for sure. It's one of the best shots in the game. It's one of the most unique shots in the game. And didn't Fils win all the physical activity tests at the Next Gen ATP Finals last year? Yes, I was.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but Arthur Cazot beat him then, actually. Cazot was the alternate for that event, and Cazot won every single... he wasn't in the original video, but they still made him do it, and he actually beat every single score of Fils. But he did win everything. It was like jumping and sprinting and everything. Yeah, he did win everything there. Maybe a little bit helped because, the other contestants were like Medzielovic or Stricker. But sure, of course, it was still impressive. And we were mentioning it as some sort of an achievement as well. And then, he's a fantastic athlete too.
Yeah, curious that, it's just a curiosity, really nothing to do with, of course, but he won this 3 hours 32 minutes match without a single ace in the whole match. And it was, even if it's clay, it's not maybe, it was still a bit like, wow, really, in the end. But yeah, he's, I also very like of him. He's able also to, to change pace a little bit during the rallies. So to have this, kind of out of nowhere acceleration, but he can also, be brave in this moment, during the final. He's been the bravest one. I mean, it's not difficult to win this constant because against Zverev, but he showed he never really took a step back when there was an important moment, and this made a very, very big difference because in the end, if you want to beat a player like Zverev, especially on this surface, which is kind of becoming the one where Zverev, he's at his best usually, at least he can play very well everywhere, also of course an indoor, but I've just been amazed by the way he handled the situation, also because we have seen him not always being the strongest player mentally. Of course, he is super, super young, but it's been a very, very good showing from him from that point of view, who also answering some question marks regarding his ability to stay in this kind of matches, also not only physically but also from a mental point of view. Of course, I don't know if he's going to do it regularly. Maybe we have to see more, but doing it once in that way, it's still a great deal.
There are some communities, Keen, that likes Zverev. I think especially on Facebook, there's a few groups. But yeah, I think tennis Twitter sometimes kind of just makes you think that Zverev is universally hated, but he's not hated at events. Like at events, people root for him. So it's like our tennis Twitter bubble, really. It's not universal. But yeah, we're on fire here. Mario talking about the Mario burning Zverev for not being a mental giant. I'm burning Majedovic and Stricker for their fitness. So it's a good show for sure already. And yeah, speaking maybe of Alexander Zverev, in fact, I mean, the defending champion in Hamburg, definitely one of his sort of like, well, I mean, he was born in Hamburg, so it's a very important event for him from that perspective as well. But also 2014, he made the semis, kind of his breakout run when he lost to Ferrer in the semis, was super young back then. So definitely one of his best events there. He was playing with that stabilizer on the right knee, right? That injury that happened at Wimbledon. Did we see any implications that indications that it might be a problem going forward? And yeah, sort of what does that final loss really mean to Zverev? That does it really mean much given he's top 3 in the race, 44 wins this year, actually even more than Yannick Sinner, while of course having a lot more losses as well.
Well, I mean, in the end, I still consider his Hamburg run, good looking, at the Olympics, meaning that, of course, he lost this final. He could have maybe played probably a bit better in some moments of the match. But yeah, the answer I got from Hamburg going into the Paris Olympics is that even if there's a slight limitation, it's not that big, especially, he can, still beat a lot of players that's going to be there, and also quite comfortably. Like, for example, I don't know, I'm talking about, for example, semi-final against Martinez, which is a player he can meet in Paris. So I still, will be surprised to see him not, doing well in Paris, because I feel like he has the chance to do well. But yeah, even if maybe, still he can improve a little bit his condition. It was not perfect for what I saw, probably. Usually he's able to do a little bit better on the court coverage, even if he defended pretty well when he had to do it against Fils. But yeah, overall, I feel like he can be a bit better physically. But if I have to talk about his chances in Paris, I still consider him one of the main contenders, and I feel like this this run like gives me good indication still, despite the final loss, because at least talking about the potential for rounds that he can have in the first matches, and yeah, I'm going to be surprised if he gets upset too early in Paris.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
it depends on the draw, but
yeah, he's been super consistent. I mean, he struggled against Gaston in the second round, right? But certainly that kind of felt like a match where it was just like, yeah, a unique opponent, someone who obviously plays, tennis in a way that no other guy on tour really does. So yeah, I also didn't really think that this was like, any sort of deal breaker, and that okay, yes, Zverev's form is going away or something like that. And he probably proved it all the way until the end. Did he sort of step up in the most important moments against Fils? Not really. But yeah, as some people in the chat have been very sort of insistent on telling us about, it's kind of a theme for him. Was he raised in Germany, Keen? I think so, right? I mean, Misha was born in Russia, but then they moved to Hamburg, and I think that's where they were both raised later. Yeah. Anyway, with Hamburg, you mentioned Pedro Martinez as well was in the semis. Was there any other like big story from that event where, of course, we had some content on Talking Tennis sort of coming from this week?
Well, I mean, an event where there have been some entertaining matches, but I don't think they really translated in real storylines, let's say. So yeah, I mean, I would say that it was mostly also about the final, because of how big of a deal it's been with all this fight, and of course also Fils winning the most important title of his still very, very young career. We have been asked if it's top 5 contender. I mean, for me, a very good thing about this final was that it was not only hard fought in terms of if the sets were close, but every game was really really hard. And if we talk about this final, about also the drama, not the drama, the underarm, I don't care about that. The drama, talking about how many points could have changed its way, and the physicality contest, and then for sure it's been a great final. I think the overall quality could have been a bit better at times, but yeah, it was for sure it was a great match to follow, because you had this constant feeling that all the games, all the points could have decided which way the match could have gone.
Yeah, Snehil, I know what you mean. I know who Pedro Martinez is playing in the second round. You were very lucky today there. I mean, Klein 5-3 up again, serving out the match, which, yeah, unfortunately is a bit of a theme for him as well. And do we have an opinion on the beef? The atmosphere was harsh on Fils. I mean, he tried to serve underarm. It's a normal tactic. He actually didn't even land it. So, I mean, there's absolutely no reason to be angry if someone didn't even land that underarm serve. So, yeah. Was it a crazy idea? Yes. I mean, I recently at Wimbledon, I was criticizing Otto Virtanen for trying the same, just kind of out of nowhere against Tommy Paul and losing that game, actually. So, yeah, it was a bit of a crazy idea. Would it work out if he landed it? Probably. As he still, put in his second serve. But let's imagine the worst case scenario, which is Fils steps in to serve again and he makes a double fault, because obviously there was a big delay and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Could have been wild, but yeah.
Yeah, let's say probably it affected a little bit Zverev's return, probably. I don't know if maybe, because that return, that was a chance, at least. I don't know if maybe the point would have, gone his way, but the return Zverev then missed on the second serve was bad, considering how important the point could have, of course, be. But
and you're actually right,
yeah,
Snehil, that Fils did say that he was cramping and that's why he couldn't serve. I don't know. I mean, he kind of did it on like 1 point, but sure. I mean, yeah, if that was the reasoning, then sure. Can I call it crazy, Keen? I mean, crazy in a, not like a, completely insane manner, but crazy in like, just, well, I mean, would I try that? Probably not. It's kind of wild, but if you want to, I mean, go ahead. I don't think it
Yeah,
was
I
needed
agree.
really, unless he really had some issues, right? But it can be the right play. I agree. I just don't know if it's the right play, sort of, break point down if you have a pretty good first serve, and maybe
Yeah,
it's
let's say
less
that.
of a thing with Fils on clay than with Virtanen on grass, right?
You are then very close to do, a Davidovich Fokina like like thing, if then I don't know, Zverev just, the serve just doesn't go the right way and Zverev, wins the point and breaks in that way. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. In the end, it didn't matter at all.
Yeah, and I do agree that Hamburg will kind of be remembered by the final, really, by that 3-hour 31-minute clash or whatever it was, 3-hour 33. I don't remember. Anyway, I do think that we will mention it in the conversation. To John's question from a while ago, will it be an actual contender for the top 5 at this point in time? I cannot tell you, but I think we will mention it at the very least. And it probably won't be like eliminated right away. Yeah, let's move on to the other events. I think we'll just keep going with Europe, and basically maybe let's try Nadal now and Borges and everything that happened in Bastad. We were just talking about one very long match. There was one that was even longer in Bastad, which lasted, well, kind of depends how you want to count. The official clock, I think, was 3 hours for 59 minutes and 44 seconds. So it could be 4 hours if you want to just round up to the higher number. But basically, that was, of course, the quarterfinal between Nadal and Navone. But yeah, Rafa Nadal almost did it. 2005, Bastad, he comes to defend his title, as he said, and he almost did it. It would have been a total sort of like record-breaking victory, longest gap between titles on tour level, longest gap also between like specific titles, obviously. Because no one did something no one has ever done, even like 19 years between any title, and 19 years between the same title would have been just as absurd. He doesn't get it in the end. I will actually start with a different question. When I was doing some, I don't remember what it was. Was it a watch along or something like that at the very beginning of this week? No, it was just like a spontaneous show with John when we were talking about ATP events. And he said something like Nadal, gold medal contender for the Olympics. And he and all the guys in the chat were like very much, behind that idea. And after this week, I don't know. I mean, we're getting some mixed signals. I think that you're going to find people who are going to say, yeah, this means that Nadal is surely a contender for the Olympics. And you're also going to find people like me who are going to be like, yeah, no, I mean, obviously he's not winning it,
Well, it's been good to see Rafa fighting this way this week, but for me, this week is not really giving me gold medal vibes, also because it showed, how difficult it becomes physically then if you get engaged in these, amazing, unbelievable fights that you're going to have, because of course the final has been a bit, underwhelming also for that point of view, and Borges has played a good match, has been very solid, he has been strong mentally in using his chances. But yeah, for sure, on the other side of the net, Nadal was, clearly, of course, tired by all what this week required him. So it's, this week has given me, positive vibes from Rafa in terms of it's good to see him, out there fighting and playing with much heart and, playing some good points and still winning matches, still being very difficult to beat. even when he's not in the best form of his life and in his best days, he still can, beat a lot of guys also in the fight. But if I have to think about Paris and all the big guys that's going to be there, I don't know, it becomes a bit, a bit difficult for me to see the gold medal. Let's say that probably the question can be, even if it's not that difference, another kind maybe of medal. I don't know if he can snatch a bronze, but I'm not having good feelings about that right now, having watched this week. I mean, his level needs to be higher if he wants to fly away from Paris with a singles medal at least. We don't have to forget that he's also going to play double with Alcaraz, and this is a pair that is a medal contender, because I think if they both play well, they can beat a lot of pairs in the draw. So but if I have to focus about the singles, it's always difficult to, of course, write Rafa down, and we've seen all these fights. And also, his record, as they have mentioned on the Philippe Chatrier and, on clay in general and in Paris especially. But it's difficult for me right now to imagine him winning the gold medal, if I have to be honest.
Yeah, we will see. But for me, this was not really anything that's spectacular from him either. I mean, obviously, I think there was some overreaction to this ZVEREV match at Roland Garros, which was really good. Like, really, against most players in the draw, Nadal wins on the day. But you kind of have to go from there, from like one good match to 5 or 6 in a row. And that could be an issue. Like, if of course, Navone is actually one of the, let's say, 30, 40 best players in the world on clay, at least. But if you go after that match, if it's not Ajdukovic in the semis, Nadal probably isn't winning that. Borges after these 2 matches was already, way too much. Even if Nuno, was still playing his first final, there was a possibility that just like Ajdukovic, he was gonna choke a little bit, but he never did. Like, the edge was just too high. So I'm not really sure. Sort of that's a real possibility at the moment. He won't be in my top 5 contenders. Will he be in my top 10 contenders? Maybe. I would have to think about it. But certainly that's for me, the signals sort of are still positive in terms of Rafa's ability to continue playing and sort of his chances to just even after the Olympics, keep going towards next year's Roland Garros, for example, towards next year's clay season. That is looking very likely right now. But I'm not gonna say that I believe in him winning a singles medal at the Olympics right now. I don't really. But we're gonna see how that goes. I actually said that, and I also put out this poll on Twitter this week, sort of to ask if he has a better shot in singles or doubles. It was overwhelmingly towards the doubles, which I do agree with as well. I think it's a lot more random and even 2 pretty sort of like unexpected singles players. They can definitely produce something there, since a lot of the pairs will actually be kind of out of practice together. But Matthew Ruth chose Bastad instead of Gstaad. Was that a good choice? Probably not, given what we saw in Bastad. But in hindsight, it's easy to talk about it, I suppose. Gstaad, the conditions are better for him. Yeah, I would agree with that. But Bastad is so close to home. I mean, I wouldn't criticize that decision too much. I think in the long run, it doesn't really matter which 250 he appeared at, especially if you're rude. If you're like, this is a horrible example, because I was saying at the beginning of the week that Tirante, like, why is he playing Bastad, right? And then he actually makes the semis. But given his prowess at altitude, I was thinking Gstaad, Kitzbühel, this is where he should be headed. Virtanen maybe always a better choice for this, because why is he playing Bastad instead of Gstaad? That doesn't make any sense. But with Ruud, it probably doesn't matter that much, actually, which 250 he appears at. Even if he loses round 2 here to Thiago Monteiro, it's not a big deal at all. Nuno Borges. Someone was asking about a medal. I think Sean. I don't think so. But of course, it's nice for Nuno to kind of make a few fresh steps, sort of like break new ground in a few ways this week. And of course, beating Rafa on clay will always be like a special achievement.
Yeah.
I'm not wishing that on Nuno. Like, I'm hoping that's not what we are sort of, when he retires, I'm hoping that's not what everyone brings up, that he beat Rafa on clay. I'm hoping he's going to have a lot more. But that's definitely something that like will be mentioned about him, for many years to come, that he beat Rafa on clay, just because of how special that is. And also just the 5th player, I think, to beat Nadal in a clay final, right? And two weird names there with Horacio Zeballos and Nuno Borges by now.
Yeah, because 4 of the 8 are Djokovic, 2 Federer, so yeah, it's the 5th. And I mean,
Djokovic, Federer, and who? Because I'm losing some. Oh, Murray, yeah. Oh,
Murray.
Totally
because
forgot Clay race happened.
Yeah, it was Madrid.
Yeah, the final in Madrid. Yeah.
And just to say about Borges, it's a good price because he's been improving a lot and steadily throughout this past seasons and in his career. So even if in terms of how good of a level he had to bring in the final, maybe it was, of course, it's not the same thing that beating Rafa on clay usually, especially in that final, considering the circumstances. Also physically, it probably would have happened, I don't know, in round 1 or 2. Even the quarterfinal, would have been different in terms of, but of course, different would have been also, all the circumstances of the match. And but yeah, very, very good story of a player who, has gone, of course, a lot under the radar because of obvious reasons, considering, the big media and big tournaments. But yeah, he's been making a lot of progress. And in the end, he just proved to be, too good for the opposition he faced, especially, in the quarter, in the semis, and also in the final, unfortunately, for who has that idea of Nadal. And so, yeah, very well deserved one, also for all the path that he had, coming into also this tournament and, winning it after, being more and more, a stronger presence on the tour, considering his level, improving a lot since the last, especially couple of years. And so, yeah, I would say that it's a great moment. Now, you also don't have maybe that big pressure anymore having to win your first title. So why not trying to see if he's able to find some other good weeks on the main tour. And right now also best ranking, top 30 in the race. So, if he keeps going well, he can, end the year in a good position, which can be, of course, good in many ways. Also thinking about his next steps, next tournaments, and next season. So yeah, I would say it's, of course, a very, very big deal. Couldn't have happened in better fashion, because even if Nadal and the circumstances we have mentioned, you still get to win your first title beating Nadal, and it's a good thing, I think, for everybody, regardless of of Rafa's level in the day and in the week and his conditions. So yeah, I would say, first of all, a memory will take away, for the rest of his life. And yeah, hopefully he's going to, to build up something. I don't know how much more, but some other good weeks. And yeah, let's see.
Yeah, only the second Portuguese ATP Tour champion after João Sousa, of course. Me and John were at that retirement ceremony a couple of months ago. And Snehil, I haven't looked at the whole draw from that angle, but one example I can give you off the top of my head is Christopher Eubanks, who's playing both Newport and the Olympics. Is he the only one? Maybe. I honestly would have to look at it again, but Eubanks definitely is playing both Newport and the Olympics. And yeah, Keen wanted a shout out to Denis Yevseyev later. We can give that, but I mean, what a chance missed. Carballes Baena was dead after Braunschweig and that Safiullin 3-hour match. but Yevseyev kind of allows him to get back into it and doesn't get that quarterfinal, which would have been pretty wild at the age of 31. But still a first win, of course. And Tirante I already kind of hinted at, but certainly he deserves a mention. The win over Rublev, kind of the first time we've seen him really unleash that forehand on the main tour. Of course, Rublev is not as unupsettable, if that's even a word, anymore, but he's definitely had a lot of weirder losses this year than, you know, 2020, 2023, really the whole patch. But certainly still a step forward for Tirante. He was just like killing every single point that got to his inside-out forehand, which is what he does. And also Duja Dukovic as well in the semis. It was a pretty crazy event in general, given that we had three maiden ATP Tour semi-finalists. Last time
and
this actually happened
178 for the fourth player.
Exactly. And last time this happened, that we had three maiden semi-finalists, was 2021 Cordoba. So it's a rare occurrence. I haven't checked earlier than that, but I know that it was basically 3.5 years since that last happened. Ajdukovic could have been in the top 100 if he beat Nadal, which again, we kind of have to treat it as a bit of a missed opportunity given he had his chances there. But yeah, this of course is taking quite a while. Let's move on to Gstaad, where we have
Funny thing about Rublev is that jokingly, after he lost to Comesania at Wimbledon and to Tirante here, Jose Morgado on Twitter joked, Ugo Carabelli is ready to face him very soon. And guess who's Rublev's next match?
So that tweet was pre Umag draw.
Pre Umag draw, right after the loss. Right after the loss he had in Bastad.
Nice.
So let's see. We have another chapter of this Rublev against Argentina saga.
Yeah, a friend of mine texted me today saying that like if Rublev can lose to Tirante, he can definitely lose to Ugo Carabelli. I'm not convinced. I mean, Camilo not quite as imposing, but we'll see. Certainly, it would be quite a story if he lost 3 like that in a row. But yeah, with Gstaad, we had your countryman, Matteo Berrettini, who's, the GOAT of clay today. This year, 10-1 on clay. Only one loss to Kecmanovic, which, it came right after Marrakesh. It was fine. But yeah, 2 titles this year already on clay courts. Gstaad, of course, one of his favorite events, 2018, 2022. I was kind of feeling like delirious at some point when I was talking about Gstaad at the beginning of the week because, well, first of all, at Wimbledon, of course, I was hyping up that Sinner-Berrettini clash and how like Matteo can beat any seed. Then we have Gstaad, and I'm saying that he's the title favorite, and I was already feeling like, Jesus, I mean, people are just going to think I'm some sort of a crazy Berrettini fanatic or something like that. But no, he actually did it, he actually did it. And, perhaps it wasn't super easy. That match against Felix especially kind of felt like it could have gone both ways, to an extent Tsitsipas as well. But all in all, I mean, it's still a title without dropping a set. It's the second time he wins this event. Of course, the first time being 2018, which was actually his first ATP Tour title.
Yeah, now Clay has surpassed Grass in his title counts 5 and 4. And we're still waiting for that title on hardcourt, which is crazy considering he is a semi-finalist both, in both hardcore slams. But yeah, of course, also the fitness issues and all the timing, where all the things has happened to him made a big difference. Yeah, of course, playing once again, showing that doesn't matter how many months he's going to miss, how many, injuries he's going to have, hopefully not anymore. He will still be ready, to come back at a good level, at least good enough to do this, to produce these showings. Which have been very good. Also overcome a tough matchup in Tsitsipas because he had always lost in 4 previous meetings. One of them was epic in the US Open qualifying. But so it had been a tough matchup for him in the past. So also winning that match was huge. The match against Felix, you were rightfully mentioning that, especially the first set tiebreak, could have really gone either way. Both were not perfect in the moment to close it. But Berrettini has just been then again too good in the final, and now he's back in the top 50, which is going to be important also to considering, also if we're going to have this, the One Week Master in Paris, just being able to always play this tournament without need any help by anybody. And hopefully it's going to, to last this year, because last year he also had, a good Wimbledon considering the circumstances. And then there's been that very, very bad injury at the US Open, which will hopefully be avoided this year. And let's see, he's not qualified for the Olympics. It's a pity, because he could have been tough to beat. But yeah, for of course many reasons he's not going to be there. So let's see how he's going to to look on the hard courts. Now he's going to play also this week in Kitzbühel. Let's see how he's going to do, because he can do, of course, very well also there. Probably he's once again, the favorite, if he's going to back up, the level he showed in Gstaad with, in the same way. So yeah, let's see, just positives from him, from what we have seen in this, let's say, comeback since he did it in Phoenix, in the Phoenix Challenger, to this title in Gstaad. So. And 2 titles this year, 250 titles. Many players can only wish. So it's, let's see.
Yeah, of course, it's very hard to say what Matteo Berrettini could be in a year time, in a year from here, whether he will stay healthy or not. But he's clearly a threat on pretty much all, in all possible conditions, on all possible surfaces. I'm very glad to see this run for sure. 2 titles already is pretty insane this season, considering how little he's actually played. And he's like, what, 20? No, I can't even remember his win rate, but he's played like 25 matches or something like that. So it's definitely quite rare. And yeah, to do this without dropping a set, he had the advantage sort of in these conditions over Steph for sure, but you still got to take it. It's still not easy. Against Felix, I guess they both really like conditions like this, but yeah, he also crashed the final against Quentin Wallis, who is kind of going to be our next topic, I think. And indeed, Quentin Wallis, I mean, 4th round at Wimbledon, 3rd round at Wimbledon. Of course, he didn't take that chance against Runa in the end, but 3rd round at Wimbledon, now this one. And basically, just like a month ago, we were thinking whether he would even make US Open qualifying. And now he's back at like, what, 120 in the rankings or something like that. So, I mean, his best hope from here is that, by this time next year, when these points start dropping, when he's at Wimbledon again, he's just going to have like a 12-month patch of phenomenal results and actually maybe finally stabilize on the main tour, which he couldn't do last year. But yeah, the last 2 results absolutely insane, and he should be in Porto as well next week, which might give me and John a bit of a chance to watch him up close.
Yeah, for sure. He probably was wishing, I think, to do a bit better in the final, but I mean, it's fine. Looking into perspective, is doing very, very well, and in Gstaad, he also picked up some very, very good wins. Produced one of the shot of the year contender for how difficult it was to hit the ball that way, sit down on the clay. I don't think I would be even able to cross the net. And so, yeah, for sure, some, as at times we see it happening, some weeks that can change your perspective in terms of the rest of the season. And now, of course, it's up to him to use this chance that he has given himself by, bringing up his level and, being competitive again and at this level. And so, putting himself into a more comfortable situation going forward. He has to back up what he has done so far with a bit more of consistency throughout the year, for sure, because it's a pity, of course, to see a player that we see that he can play this well, then having these very, very bad patches and not being able to produce the level that he has shown that he's very, very capable to show also on the main tour, and also against some very good players like Struff, like Rune at Wimbledon, even if he hasn't won the match. And so the thing that we have to look right now is how his season is going to progress, because it would be very, very sad for him if he's not going to build up over these runs that he had in trying to improve his ranking and be back having more chances in tour level matches.
Yeah, I can't speak for Mario, but I think the answer to your questions, Sean, would be Sinner, right? I mean, the boom that is in Italy regarding Sinner right now, it's not really comparable to anything that Matteo has ever had. So yeah, obviously it is Sinner. Yeah, it's been taken to like completely new levels. I think a lot of what you said is like kind of how people have been feeling watching Quentin Wallace most of his career in like 2018, 19, 20 and stuff. But then he actually, of course, started putting results together, and was not expecting him to follow that Wimbledon run that well, and also especially when he was almost out to Fonio in the first round of qualifying. So that was pretty fun as well. We also had Tsitsipas, Struff in the semis. Anything else from Gstaad that we're going to remember really?
I mean, for both the two players that you have mentioned, let's say that kind of acceptable losses. I mean, Struff, considering that he's finally has been able this year to win his first tour level title, can digest his loss, better than what he would have, of course, done, without that title. But of course, these ifs, of course, don't exist. And Tsitsipas, I mean, of course, it would have been nice for him and for his, to add points and wins and confidence, given that he's win 1,000 this year, but it's been kind of a roller coaster season for him. Also some, not good showings. So, but yeah, it's an acceptable loss, I think. So.
Yeah, I don't really have that much to add either. I think we might just move on to the Newport event, which, as you said earlier, or sort of I said because of something that you mentioned, it's not going to be on the calendar next year. Whether it's disappointing or not, I mean, the tour might actually, need a bit of a grass court event, but it was like one more grass court event. But it was always placed in this very weird spot in the calendar, where, like, no one really wanted to play in, from the big stars. John Isner was just killing the event time and time again. And basically, no one really was able to compete with him for many years. Of course, Karlovic, Miller also picked it up. Some grass court specialists went there, and that's kind of it. But yeah, this year we had an All-American semifinal lineup. And of course, Alex Michelsen once again made the final in Newport, kind of reminding us that he actually does have a great grass game, despite the European grass season going a bit weird for him. But Marcos Giron, again, like picking up his first ATP Tour title over the age of 30. It's pretty impressive. I saw a stat today that was something like that this year there have already been 3 players who played over 100 ATP Tour main draws.
Yeah. I
and then
saw
picked
it.
up their first title, right? Yeah, and was Struff, Giron, and whom?
I have to check, but I remember the stat. It was something at the beginning, I think, of the year.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling because definitely at the beginning of the year we had Diaz Acosta and Darderi, but they did not play 100.
No, for sure not. Yeah, but we have so many. We have already had 10 first time.
Yeah, it's
first time
definitely not
champions.
Draper. It's definitely not Borges, right?
No, it's not Borges. The media notes have disappeared from last.
Okay. Never mind.
Unfortunate. So yeah, I guess I will remember it a bit later. I don't know if someone in the chat will remember it. Whatever. Let's think about something else, because if not, we might. And yeah, just talking about Newport as somebody who I don't want to say that I don't enjoy the grass, but usually this week I've never really focused that much on Newport. I have to be honest. This week for me it's been the most enjoyable tournament to follow. Actually, I liked the matches and the stories and these players trying to fight for this first title, especially Giron at 30, almost 31 in actually a couple of days, and Eubanks trying to to be back at in the ranking after falling down pretty badly, of course, after last year's grass season. Opelka being back on the tour after many years. Also, we've been known better and better about his injuries this week because of some interviews that he released. So there has been some good stories to face. Mikkelsen being there in the final second year in a row, falling up short once again, this time very, very short because he's at the match point. Not a great chance because, Giron simply, hit an ace, I think it was, or an unreturn on match point. So this is how we saved it. It's been very, very fine because, Giron is one of these players who kind of deserved this moment, considering, how good he has become, how close it also has been. I remember watching the Dallas final against Tommy Paul. He was very, very good. He was really putting Paul into many troubles. And so it's very, very deserved moment for him. And yeah, just being at a very, very good position also ranking wise. I don't know if he's going to be able to grab a seat at the US Open, but he can fight for it. 38 right now. So and actually just one of these stories that I usually really like to watch and witness of these players who starts playing better and better and better till even at 30, 31 are able to finally have their breakthrough moment, win a title, on the ATP Tour level. So it's been very, very good also because I also remember him in the past couple of years, 2-3 years, being protagonist of very, very good matches, very good fight, putting in troubles a lot of very good players. So I feel like it's really a deserved reward for what he has done, not only this week but in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think I was talking about him a bit when when Tiafoe said that thing about clowns, and I kind of mentioned guys like Giron or Kepfer as like examples of players who, when they were joining the top 100, like they were just universally considered like pretty much the worst players there, like just guys who went in, but they're not going to be winning on the main tour. They're probably going to fall out or like just fight on the challenger tour to stick around. Who knows? But just with time, he actually started beating half the tour. So clearly he is deserving of this. He clearly belongs right now, obviously, for the past few years, really. So yeah, it's really a great story of like progress and professionalism, and then just trying to do whatever he can. Should have made the final in Tokyo. Yeah, absolutely, Matthew. You are right. When he had a lead over Ben Shelton, and easily could have done that. Easily could have had an ATP 500 final there. But before Newport, he had two other finals: San Diego 2022 and Dallas 2024. Now he gets that title. I kind of get what you mean about the storylines in Newport being pretty good. Personally, I don't really know which event I watched the most this week. But I did catch quite a lot of Newport for sure, especially earlier in the week. And well, it's a bit of a shame. I don't really care about the International Tennis Hall of Fame, to be honest. Like, I think it's a very American concept, and well, it's great if you get in. Like, of course, it's gonna be some an honor and stuff. Like, I would like to be, if I was a tennis player, I would like to be in the International Tennis Hall of Fame. But would it be something that I would really sit and think, oh, what do I have to do to get there, or is my career good enough for the Hall of Fame already? Like, no, if you think that's how it works, you are American. But I think obviously it's a place, sort of like a very meaningful venue, and it's a shame we won't be getting it on the tour, especially as we don't exactly have 1,000 grass court events around.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also I am somebody who, I don't want to say that I'm not open to new things, but usually I tend to also get a little bit like sad when I see events going that I also used to watch for years. So yeah, for sure, it's, you know, it was a bit sad to know that it was going to be the last one, even because, yeah, it was, you know, I understand that probably, you know, the position the week right after Wimbledon, this tournament being still on grass but on another continent, you know, it was comfortable probably only for American players, or I don't know, or also some Australian player who would have not come back to Australia anyway after Wimbledon. So it's, you know, of course not the easiest possible, you know, place and event to get the most stacked field, but you know, in the end it was also getting better in terms of the players field. I feel like this year, for example, it was good. We had, you know, a good lineup, a good semi-final lineup, a good final. Whatever, you know, we have no choice, and so, you know, we just have to watch whether they decide they're going to have a combined challenger 125 held during the second week of Wimbledon. Let's see how this is going to work out. But yeah, that's it for Newport so far on, you know, let's say the main tour, talking about his 250 status.
Yeah, and let's also talk about Riley Opelka, who made the semis in his first event back. Well, I mean, it wasn't his first event back since that first, well, injury, but then of course he only came back for one match in Charlottesville last year. Actually looked pretty good against Dennis Sandgren, but then again he's out for like 8 months. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, I think it's still perfectly fine, even though he lost in the semis in like a manner that Riley Opelka does not usually lose, which is, you know, just 10 games in a row, I think, that he lost. But
Yeah, it was
yeah.
2 games all, 5 aces in 2 games. Break points, I think like 4 break points in the first 2 return games, and then nothing nothing else after that promising, let's say, start of the match. But overall, yeah, let's say that I was, I don't want to say surprised, but kind of, yes, I was actually, because yeah, he came back in you know, good style. I know that when you lose that way a match, then it kind of stick in the memory you get from a player. But if we try to forget just a little bit, to close an eye over what happened in the semi-final, where I also can understand, then, you know, it's not easy also for players like him, with his, you know, also being so tall, and to find form so quickly also. It can be very, very tough, and it has been, but he's beat very good players, played very well. Yeah, let's just hope he can, you know, find that consistency to let us say that he is back, and not do something like what he did in October last year, where, you know, yeah, we say that he was back, but he wasn't. So yeah, he's set to play in Atlanta this week. Let's see how all this is going to work out. In Atlanta, he won a doubles title with Sinner, actually, in 2021. Yeah, let's just see how this goes. But for what I could see in this first week, it's been a good showing, all things considered. You know, I try to not give that much value to the semi-final.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like, it was fine for him to be a bit knackered after the first 3 matches, even with a day off. Obviously, he hasn't played in a while, and yeah, it's perfectly understandable that he was already a bit dead by then. But yeah, you mentioned Atlanta. Let's just briefly also talk about the events that are coming up at Atlanta, UMAG, and Kitzbühel this week. Of course, coming up is maybe a bit of a stretch. We've already had 2 days of UMAG, or actually, we are right now finishing the second day of UMAG. If you guys have seen me, especially earlier, if you've seen me gasping a little bit on camera, that was due to some of the hammer forehands from Matej Dodik. Now I haven't been gasping too much, but Policzak and Sonego are in a very interesting first set tiebreaker, which I've also been watching. But
Yeah, it's 7.
yeah, UMAG, Kitzbühel, Atlanta. Yeah, what are you watching out for in these events?
I mean, they are also different. Yeah, probably let's say that, you know, UMAG feels like, talking about the European clay tournaments, has got the strongest field. Even if Rune withdrew, we saw yeah, I mean, Rublev not going to be in the Olympics, but right now is kind of a story. Whether he's going to win matches, I don't know if anybody will. You know, it also depends on what you like to watch, and you know, maybe Rublev's tennis is not really your thing, but you're talking in general. I mean, and also probably you, but in general.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one you're going for, but yeah, both work. Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, right now is kind of a story, because this year has been very weird for him. Won 1,000 title, which for him it's a very huge deal, given that, you know, his biggest title tied with Monte Carlo last year, but after and before produced pretty much nothing if we exclude the Australian Open, a good quarterfinal once again. So yeah, but there are, you know, many players. Actually, today I have watched a lot of Atlanta to work. I was riding, and so I managed to catch, you know, Davidovich Fokina, who has been back after more than a month without matches, and there's been a match between Shapovalov and Goffin. Not the highest quality match, honestly. I watched it, but still, you know, two guys that it's always quite interesting to see where they are at in terms of their level, because I don't know, you never know if they're going to find some good matches. But there's something interesting. For example, today for me was very interesting to see how Schwarzer would have played in Kitzbühel against Seyboth-Wild. Yeah. And it's been a good match, I would say. I have enjoyed, especially, you know, the Hartford second set contest has been very good. Could have maybe, you know, he had some chances to do, you know, to break, especially in that second set. Seyboth-Wild needed to dig deep in order to win in straight. So this was a fun one to watch. I think you watched. I mean, you probably were talking about this later in a comment. There's been the match between Nadal and Klein, which were very hard fought contest. So yeah, I mean, I like these weeks because, you know, before it's kind of difficult to tell which are going to be the most important stories to follow, because, you know, when you have so many players, and also this week can be, I don't know, if maybe impacted a little bit with the Olympics on site, even if most of these players won't even go to Paris. I mean, in UMAG, there are some players who will have to, you know, to go to Paris then. But yeah, this classic week after Wimbledon, then, you know, you are about to watch a lot of different things, different time zones. And so I think there is pretty much for everybody's taste and, you know, tennis convictions.
Yeah, I mean, Klein Nagel, I did watch it. Yes, I think it was just a classic choke from Klein at 5-4. It's been happening to him way too much this year. But after that, yeah, the 3 points were kind of gone, and he was just getting outplayed off the ground, couldn't really impose himself anymore. Policzak Sonego, by the way, has been like incredible scenes. I mean, just a second ago, Sonego had a match point at 9-8, but he was cramping and like literally couldn't go to the line. Like, you know, Policzak had to wait so long for him, then eventually found an unreturned serve. And like, yeah, this match has been insane. And actually,
Yeah.
this is one of the main things that I was watching out for this week. The Croats in Umag. It's such a nice sort of like such a nice rivalry there, even in terms of right now the biggest prospects. You've got Prizmic, Dodik, Mikrut. They're all pretty much the same age. You've got Ajdukovic as well, who's of course a bit older, but still, has received a few wildcards in Umag already and just made an ATP Tour semi. And I actually was not expecting Policzak to be that close against Sonego. Now Sonego will have a match point. He's still cramping and serving a 10-9 in the third set tiebreak. So yeah, it's really just incredible there. I'm glad that Dodik made it through earlier over Kwako. The last 2 sets, he was just unbelievable. So maybe he's gonna keep up that story there if Policzak is going to lose, because well, he's very close to right now. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the main thing for me this week. Atlanta, sure, it's gonna be fun as well. It's like one of the faster hard courts we have on the tour right now as well. Kind of good to have some of these more vintage playing conditions.
Yeah, even if I have to be honest that today I got a little bit disappointed. I don't know if it was the players, but I remember these conditions to be faster than how I saw it today, actually.
I did watch Davidovich Fokina Kazawa as well. There was a lot of like counter punching tennis from Arthur, definitely. That didn't really end up working out. Of course, he had lots of breakpoints in the second set as well. And yeah, Kitzbühel is kind of the only Kitzbühel is kind of the event that it sort of like is always in that double with Gstaad, right, in terms of the European altitude clay. So yeah, that will be fun as well. I did watch Schwarzer earlier today. He played like a junior, which he almost is a junior still, so it's fine. Obviously, he has a lot of potential, but it's super raw by now. With Jürgen Meltzer's guidance, I'm sure they're gonna do fine. And obviously, he's already won a challenger, which is definitely ahead of schedule. How is Prizmic not playing Umag Snehid? Yes, that's very surprising, but well, apparently he's just not playing anything. So well, he must be injured, I suppose. But yeah,
I saw that he's had some wrist issues, but I've not really got into knowing how big they are. So this is the official reason why he's not playing this tournament. He withdrew.
Yeah, and I think that Mikrut was probably the guy who loved it, because otherwise he would not be getting a major wildcard, I think. But well, in the end, it was actually pretty funny, because in the qualies they gave a wildcard to a 35-year-old Denis Mak out of nowhere. So I guess even if the list of young Croatian prospects is pretty long at 4, after these 4, it's kind of like a big low. But yeah, anyway, Mikrut, Prizmic, Dodik, that's going to be super fun to watch over the years. Will Rune's injury make them question the tennis ball situation again? I mean, I don't know if it will be Rune's injury in particular. The number of wrist injuries, yeah, it might. But, well, I mean, Rune has not been the fittest guy on tour either. Of course, he's still pretty young, but it would be disappointing if he had to go out for about a month or 2 from here. But it does seem like it, from what we sort of heard, right? I mean, he's kind of just going to another doctor tomorrow, and he's hoping that doctor is going to say something different than the first one. So it seems pretty desperate to me.
Yeah, it hasn't been the most reassuring thing to read, considering his words. But yeah, we cannot do anything more than just wait for further news. So yeah.
Yeah, and Hubert Hurkacz pulling out of the Olympics. We can also talk about that, I guess, as the last segment. It actually means
it's a very big deal for the team.
It means that Zielinski can't play, and it means that the mixed doubles will not happen either. So, well, I guess Iga has a chance to focus on the singles only. It might be good for her, But yeah, all in all, of course, it's very unfortunate, not only for Hubert, but maybe even especially for Zielinski, who's not even, allowed to compete in the event now as a top 30 doubles player. Of course, he could have earned himself a spot in the top 10, and in that case, you can take any partner you want, sure. But, it's just the top 10 in doubles. He was there, actually, just not right now, not when he needed to be. But yeah, especially disappointing for him, probably. So is Iga just playing only singles now? Yes, because she cannot have, because of the weird qualification rules with the Olympics, The only way they could have played is if Hurkacz showed up at the Olympics, retired in doubles,
Yeah.
and then Zielinski would come in for him and replace him in the mixed as well. So the possibility was actually there, but I'm absolutely fine with Hurkacz not doing that
Yeah.
sort of a circus show, and just but Iga literally will only be playing singles now. Poland was hoping for like maybe even 2 medals at the Olympics, so
Yeah, it
it's
would
not
have been
ideal.
possible.
But yes, Ashley, there's no points at the Olympics. There used to be, but sort of in a similar vein as they did with Davis Cup, they eliminated them because, well, it's not open per se, right? The qualification criteria is not open. There's only 4 athletes per country, so it would be unfair. And I think it's absolutely right that it does not carry points. Although, of course, it would have more prestige if it did. But I think only events that are open should have them, just like Wimbledon didn't have them in 2022. Anyway, Iga has a 99.99 chance to win the gold, says Eme. She almost lost to Naomi Osaka at the French. It's literally the same event now. Best of 3.
Yeah,
I guess it's one.
We can fly down. We can fly down and let's say just 99.0. No, I'm kidding. I mean, she's going to be, of course, the huge favorite, that's for sure. But for sure, Hurkacz withdrawal is, of course, bad news for the whole team because Poland could have, really would have been a big contender also in the mixed. But even, Zielinski is a great player in doubles. So even him playing, Hurkacz also was super committed because he would have played all the 3 competitions. So it's for sure a heavy loss to take for the team. But I guess it is what it is. It's a bit sad.
It's a shame, but injuries happen. I think that the Olympics qualification criteria and sort of some of the rules are just so
this is right because for example, Vondrousova also withdrew on the women's side, but it hasn't been a huge deal for the team because Siniakova moved to single, Noskova plays double now with Bukova, so they're going to be fine. Poland, of course, it's a different situation, and
because with any other doubles player from Poland, Zielinski wouldn't be able to get in. They wouldn't make the cut. I think right now the second doubles player in the ATP rankings is Piotr Matuszewski at like 110 or something like that. Then we have Drzewiecki as well at like 150. So no possibility there. But if he was at least allowed to play the mixed with Iga, that would be just perfectly fine in my book. That's the rule that I'm kind of not really okay with. Like, what's the big deal? But the mixed is only, the mixed at the Olympics contains players who are playing singles or doubles. So if Zielinski is not playing the doubles, he cannot play the mixed, which, especially for Team Poland, I guess is very unfortunate. But anyway, Iga Świątek singles. Of course, there's also women's doubles, Linette Rosolska, but I mean, the chances of winning a medal there are, let's say, slim at best. And there's Linette and Frank as well in the singles. We could get 2 medals in the women's singles. Who knows? But it does seem like that avenue sort of to get more than 1 medal at the Olympics has kind of been, almost closed for the Polish team. Anyway, Hubert Hurkacz should be back in a few weeks. We'll see when. Of course, he hasn't really said anything specific, but I'm assuming by the US Open, he should definitely be
back. The clip was, I took it in a positive way. The tone, at least, seemed like, he is progressing well. That's what I understood.
When he did the procedure, I think everyone was talking about just like a few weeks out. It's just that, for the Olympics, I mean, even if he was able to make it, to like show up there, he wouldn't have any practice in. He wouldn't.
Yeah, for sure.
He would literally just be showing up there and I don't know, hoping for the best, which probably isn't the right idea and also isn't the right rehab for the knee. So we'll see when he's back, but I would assume that it will be during the North American hardcourt season. And with that, I think we can definitely wrap up. We had 4 events that we had to talk about. That's going to be pretty rare, although I think there's a week coming like this in February 2025.
Yeah,
as well.
Something like this.
I think in February there's 1 week like this, but it's definitely quite rare on the ATP circuit. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch it, and it was a lot of fun to follow it, and it was a lot of fun to talk to you about it, Mario, and to all you guys in the chat too. So yeah, thank you. We'll see you sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.